Welcome everyone to this Sage Intacct tutorial where I'm going to walk you through how vendor approvals work, including how vendors are submitted for approval, what users can and can't do during the process, and how to track changes along the way. To enable vendor approval, you're going to go to Accounts Payable, Setup Configuration. You will need to be an admin to do so. It's going to be towards the bottom of the page. You'll see right here where you can enable vendor approval as well as email notifications to go out to the approver. When vendor approval is turned on, every time a vendor is created or edited, the record is automatically submitted to the approved vendor queue. Designated approvers, users that you've assigned for this role, are responsible for reviewing the vendor and choosing to either approve or decline the record. All right, so I'm going to have an AP clerk enter a new vendor. Going to duplicate this vendor for time purposes. And I'm going to enter their address. All right, so once the AP clerk enters a new vendor, an email is going to be sent to the approver that looks something similar to this. The following vendor requires your approval: vendor information, who the requester was, vendor ID, and the vendor name. You can click into it here, or you can go to Accounts Payable, Approve Vendors if you're an approver. I recommend viewing that. Okay, check if there's any errors. Looks like the tax ID information is missing. Maybe I'd like to have an address change or a phone number entered. Okay, so I would like the primary contact's phone number and email added. So I'm going to decline and put a comment. While the vendor is in a submitted or a declined state, Sage Intacct places restrictions on what users can do. They cannot post accounts payable or purchasing transactions for the vendor. They are not able to edit any existing transactions tied to that vendor, and they're not able to select the vendor transactions for payment processing. But what they can do is they can still save new transactions as drafts, and that way you can capture the activity and post once the vendor is approved. We can set up a smart rule so the AP clerk receives an email once the vendor is declined. Actually, it's going to be a smart event. And you could reach out to us to add this for you. But what this does is it will shoot an email over to the AP clerk saying the vendor has been declined. So now the clerk knows to go back into the vendor that has been declined, and you could search here for the state, the declined state, and Brickshire was added. So I'm going to go into this. And if I go to the history, I can see the workflow. So I can see that the approver, Emma, has declined this vendor, and the comment says, please add email and phone number. I'm going to resubmit. Emma, the approver, is going to receive a new email. Once the vendor is resubmitted, I recommend viewing the record, checking the history. Okay, so it was declined because the email and phone number needed to be added. I'm going to ensure that it has been added. And I could also go to the audit trail to see changes, so I could see the field before and after. It does take some time, a few minutes to process though. So I'm going to approve this vendor. Another situation that you might run into is updating bank records. So if I were to update this vendor's bank file, it's going to go back into a submitted state, and the approver is going to receive another email. Make sure to view the file and the history. Go to the audit trail to see what has been updated. You can see here, for instance, that before there was not an account number, now there is. And once this updates, you'll see what the account number was before and after. If the vendor is declined, the original submitter can go back and edit the record, but you want to make sure that that AP clerk does have the correct permissions. An important thing to note is if a vendor has active payment requests in workflow, you can't edit that record. To resolve this, you're either going to need to complete the existing payment request or cancel them to return bills to an unselected state. Sage Intacct offers 3 ways to track vendor approval history. That's going to be the state field of the vendor. It can be submitted, approved, or declined. If you go into the vendor, you have a history tab. And this shows a timeline of who created, submitted, and approved or declined the vendor. You also have the audit trail, which captures any field changes when the vendor is edited, and it's a great resource for compliance. If you'd like to add this to your instance, please reach out to us and we can also set up a smart rule for you. Thanks for tuning in today. Bye.